Hey all, Clinton here. I know Jared is usually the guy who gets to talk to everybody about the nostalgia stuff, but I've had something on my mind recently. It involves late night adventures, meeting new friends, experiencing heartbreak and loss. And it all started with a ride on a train. But I need to give a little background to help set the scene. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was a bit of a geek. Shocking, I know. But bear with me. I pretty much always had been a fan of comics and cartoons, fantasy and science fiction, etc., etc. So, as I said, late 90s, early aughts, and I'm scanning the racks at the local Books A Million. Yeah, I know, Jared will say I'm a traitor against Walden Books, but it was more convenient and had a better selection at the time. Sue me. As I'm perusing the racks, I spot this magazine called An America. Now, for those of you not in the know, An America was one of the first few magazines that focused solely on anime and manga. Now, I had been a fan of anime for a few years at this point, slowly increasing my exposure to new and interesting things. So this magazine obviously captured my interest. And even more exciting, it contained serialized manga chapters translated into English. I had heard of manga at this point, but hadn't actually had any opportunity to read any. Again, this is the late 90s, early 2000 or so we hadn't quite gotten the big anime boom that came in around the mid-aughts. You know, bookstores did not have manga volumes lined all across the board. And I know. A lot of you are asking yourselves, what the heck does all this have to do with a train ride? Well, I'm getting to that. You see, the manga being serialized at the time was Galaxy Express 999, called 39 in Japan. For those of you completely unaware, the Galaxy Express is a train that travels through space from planet to planet. The art for this story was almost unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It was definitely unlike anything I recognized, but I'll get to the almost part of that later. The character designs were all incredibly unique and beautiful. I mean, I'd seen quite a few anime series at this point, but none of it really looked like this. I wasn't sold on the concept, but I figured, why not? So I hopped on board the 39 and took my train ride on the Galaxy Railways with the characters of Tetsuro and Maytel. Folks, I was hooked. It played with concepts I hadn't imagined. The creativity of the planets they visited was all over the map. And it opened my eyes to just how truly creative anime and manga stories could be. But I was also in college at the time, and my visits to bookstores where I could find An America became fewer and fewer. So, I only managed to grab a few issues and a few assorted chapters of the story. By the time I could really come back to get more, An America had moved on to serializing a different manga. The Galaxy Express manga had been collected into individual volumes, but I must not have really known about it at the time, otherwise I would have snatched those up. They've long since gone out of print and are priced at unholy prices by online resellers. But, I mean, they know the treasure they've got. But again, I was in college at the time, which meant some late nights watching whatever was on cable. And lo and behold, one night, I caught sight of a familiar character design on the Sci-Fi Channel. I was already surprised they were showing an animated movie so late. And it was clearly anime, so I was doubly surprised. Then I realized exactly what it was. It was a movie adaptation of Galaxy Express 39. What I would eventually learn was the first of several. I rushed to grab a blank VHS tape and pressed record. And let me tell you, this movie is amazing. It brought me back to my friends Tetsuro and Maytel, and it expanded my knowledge. I was introduced to Captain Harlock, Tochiro, and Emeraldus. And from this moment forward, I was forever hooked. I should point out, these characters and stories all come from the creative mind and pen of author Leiji Matsumoto. Matsumoto is responsible for masterpieces like Galaxy Express 39, as well as Arcadia of My Youth, and Space Battleship Yamato, or as many of you know that last one, Star Blazers. Yes, I had seen ads for the Star Blazers VHS collections before, but I didn't connect the art from it to the art from Galaxy Express. Matsumoto wrote and drew many, many more series and stories, all with loose and often even contradictory continuities. Many of these more or less sharing a single universe. Fans often refer to this as the Leiji-verse. The man was definitely a creative visionary, even helping to craft an anime movie around the music of Daft Punk's album Discovery. And you can find that movie out there. It's called Interstellar 5555. That's right, it's like Interstellar without the R at the end and 4 5s. Matsumoto unfortunately passed away back in February of 2023. But the world will be forever better for his contributions to storytelling and entertainment. I know my own personal world is indeed brighter for it. And from my point of view, at least, it never would have happened if I hadn't decided to stop in a bookstore, pick up a magazine, and take a trip on a train that traveled through the Sea of Stars. So, that's my little tale, my little nostalgia corner. Any of you out there have any similar stories? Any experience with the Leiji-verse or another series that just reached out and grabbed you like that? Let us know. Feel free to write us at contact@longboxcrusade.com or drop us a voicemail at 707-532-LBOX. Or just comment on the show postings for this. We'd definitely love to hear from you. The music heard in this episode is Endless Night by Carl Casey from White Bat Audio.